Today's episode is going to be absolutely quackers. Before we get going, hit that subscribe button and notification bell to stay up to date with everything that's happening on this channel. We've got some great stuff coming up, including some big and interesting tattoo projects and some art-focused stuff too. Okay, let's dive into it. If you haven't already figured it out, today's tattoo is going to be a quack and grey duck placed smack bang in the waddle of my client's thigh. The fun part about the placement here is that if my client wears shorts, the duck's flappy palmate feet are going to be peeking out of the bottom of his shorts. Classic. After the stencil dried and I filled my flock of ink caps with dynamic black and grey wash set, I started floating around with a Killer Ink Stellar 2.09 round liner. The outline on a single sticker-like realistic tattoo like this is extremely important. This ensures that the edges don't get lost over time and maintain a decent contrast between the tattoo and the skin as it ages. Only a handful of techniques are being used in this tattoo process, the most dominant one being a type of feathering, which means mostly using the tips of the needles and kind of hovering around the surface of the skin, but also making sure I get decent saturation. Don't really want to be pecking at it. Once I was happy with the feet, I started building up the darker areas in the breast feathers. Working with the lowest values, I worked the darker areas in, aiming downwards with my blends, leaving small gaps to give the impression of texture. Those gaps can then be worked on a little later with some lighter values to give the little quacker some form. The underneath of the duck's body was under shadow, so to make sure we get a nice rounded figure, I paddled around with some low mid-tones, which is 60 to 80% quack, and then gradually worked up to 40, 20 and then 10% grey wash. The difficult part about quack and grey tattooing is that it takes a little bit of time and experience to truly understand how it's all going to heal up. Finding that sweet spot between not too dark and not too light can be challenging while you're tattooing because you're dealing with redness and swelling. This can lead to a false impression of how it's going to look. What are you going to do? Well, if you're starting to ponder, my advice is, if you're unsure, go a little lighter with the grey wash in the session. Do your best, but ask your client to come back in a couple of weeks or even maybe a month, maybe even 2 months. If it's too light, when it's all healed up, just spend a little bit of time going a little bit darker in the areas that need it. This is on your client's skin forever. Chances are they'll appreciate the gesture, maybe even trust that you care about this process and their skin, and they'll probably come back for some more sick tats. The flip side to all of that is that if you go too dark initially, well, you better start flapping. Now my client's leg is probably at the sore stage and my entertainment was getting a bit stale, so I put on some Drake on the studio speaker to make sure I didn't quill the mood. After dabbling around the duck's head, you can see the overall impression is starting to take shape. Conscious that the pain is definitely starting to set in and the risk of too much tattooing might push the skin to resemble freshly roasted poultry, we ended the session happy with the result. My happy client then waddled out of the studio shortly after paying the bill. What does everybody think? Any guesses on how it's going to heal up? Please let me know. So lastly, thank you to my client. Thank you all for watching, and if you've got any questions, drop it in the comments below and I will catch you next time.